to our esteemed current and incoming co-chairs, to as well fellow civil society leaders, excellencies, and friends of the Open Government Partnership. Today, we celebrate. In just 3 years, 65 countries have signaled their commitment to transparency, to citizen engagement, and to responsive government. I can think of no other global initiative that has achieved such tremendous potential for openness in such a short time. What is unique to OGP is that it brings together citizen engagement and action. Action on the part of governments is not enough. Action on the part of civil society is not enough. But engagement between governments and civil society that informs action is what leads to impact. The stories that we have just heard speak to this power of OGP. They are stories about civil society not only playing a role to hold governments to account, but also as designers of policy, as contributors of technical expertise, and as amplifiers of citizen voice. They are stories about government listening, engaging, and responding. And across government and civil society, they are stories about learning from one another, innovating, and taking risks. But there is another story that needs telling. In the past 2 years, over 50 countries have introduced 69 new restrictive measures that curtail the ability of civil society organizations to operate freely. In these countries, the potential for openness is countered by pressures of powerful institutional and political forces that seek to keep society closed. This is a worrying trend worldwide, and it jeopardizes the very premise of our multi-stakeholder partnership. In too many countries, this is the story of OGP. Open space, open organizing, and open expression are being actively undercut. The potential of OGP to empower reformers and transform the lives of citizens cannot be realized when meaningful engagement between government and civil society is obstructed. But the end of our story is not yet written. OGP can leverage its strengths, the breadth of its partnership across a diversity of countries, the depth of its high-level support, as evidenced by those in this room. Together, we can shape it, promote it, protect its principles, and propel its promise. I challenge civil society. Opt in. Seize the space that does exist. Use OGP as a platform to make concrete gains on the issues that matter most to citizens. Be more creative and more strategic. Work across sectors and silos to coordinate and caucus to advance openness. Raise awareness where the principle of partnership is under threat, and bring to bear the full power of our coalitions, our knowledge, and our experience. I challenge governments, lead by example. Your presence here today and the accomplishments we celebrate speak to your willingness to redefine governance. Engage your peers within and outside of your own government to bolster reform efforts. Reach out to civil society as a resource to achieve common aims. Leverage the full power of your networks at all levels of government to charm, to challenge, and to cajole fellow governments to be true to the spirit of OGP. I challenge us all. Harness OGP's potential. We can encourage more OGP governments to establish a forum for ongoing dialogue with civil society partners. We can be ambitious in our commitments and ensure OGP remains a platform to race to the top, not to gradually slide to the bottom. We can be the wind behind the sails of reformers who aspire to openness. We can put in place thoughtful, consistent, and compelling mechanisms to identify and counter practices that countervene our principles. In a year, I hope to tell a different story. A story about how we reversed a dangerous trend against openness, a story about how we demonstrated the power of action and engagement to change the lives of the nearly 2 billion people who live in OGP countries. A story about how we achieved the full promise of the Open Government Partnership. Let us write this story together. Thank you.